Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast of Jackson and Kyle. And I am joined here, as always, by the man who didn't just waste a bunch of money on brightly colored lights. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm good. I did not buy brightly colored lights, but I love the ambiance there. You're setting the mood for a Buccaneers victory, and it pulled off. So
Exactly. It was good luck. I turned all my lights to red when we were down. It worked. So clearly, this is if you want your football team to do well, buy lights that can change colors.
yes, that's the only way to have it happen.
It's the only way. All right. Well, let's just jump in. I mean, we always start off with the late game. This one, obviously, I am very happy. I'm wearing a Buccaneers jersey. I'm a Bucs fan. This was an awesome win. I'll just talk. So I would like to say I think everyone owes me an apology because I nailed this one 100%. You got to give me that one, Kyle. Yeah.
Yes, you did. You did a good job in this one. It was weird at first. It looked like that it was just going to be kind of a disaster. Like I didn't understand what the offense was doing. They couldn't defend a punt, it seemed like, the first two times to save their life. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it looked like there was a good chance that the Saints might have a chance to run away with this, but if you can't finish drives, it's going to kill you. They only got up 6-0. The Bucs were able to stay in it, bounce back, and got back into this game. And it wasn't a beautiful game to watch on either sides. I don't know how 50 points was scored in this game, but a lot of it has to do with turnovers because Breeze was not good in this one. Breeze was just bad. And while I don't think Brady was great, he made plays when he had to. When he really needed to drive, he hit Tyler Johnson on that insane catch. And then he also hit Scotty Miller. I mean, he really just made plays when he had to, and that was all that mattered. Yeah,
this game was so that early start was obviously not great. I actually live bet on the Buccaneers. It was so I bet $10 to win $18. So it wasn't like anything crazy, but like I felt good actually. I know why already paying back for those lights I bought in the background already. I felt okay at that point because yes, on one hand, the punt return team was awful, but you sort of feel like there is a bit of a flukiness to that. And Deontay Harris getting injured obviously hurt that. But I felt like other than that, Tampa Bay, their defense was doing exactly what I expected them to do. The man coverage was really a struggle for New Orleans. And I said they're going to play a lot of man coverage. And you said, well, who's going to stop Michael Thomas? Michael Thomas didn't have a catch in this one. And while a lot of it was Carlton Davis, it wasn't just Carlton Davis. Sean Murphy-Bunting had a pick six on a target intended for Michael Thomas. This secondary... Oh, right, yeah, near pick six. But this, basically a pick six. But this secondary was exactly what it can do when it's in man. And that kind of just is a clear sign that I don't care what the matchup is, you play man coverage because you can't play zone. And they sprinkled some zone in. Devin White got a pick off of zone. But this is the man coverage team, and when they play man coverage constantly, they can really be successful.
Yeah, and it just worked. They did everything that they had to do, and like you said, they made plays. They committed some penalties, but at the same time, I love the physicality of this game. I loved it on both sides. I love that the referees were willing to let these corners throw their hands at these guys. You live with a couple penalties when they're going to play that well and make those kind of plays. Like you said, they completely shut down Michael Thomas. I think the one thing you were looking at potentially was Kamara just having a ton of success. I thought he had a really good game, but just not enough touches, I felt like, for him overall. And what have I said all year about this Buccaneers team? The one thing I've said, Devin White's really good at football. Devin White was awesome in this one. He made a ton of plays, not just getting in the backfield. I don't think he had a sack in this one, but sideline to sideline, White was just unreal in this one. And Antoine Winfield made a big play that turned this entire game around. That's a fantastic punch and a great play from a rookie to be able to make that play, get the ball back for your team there. And, it wasn't a beautiful game, but scoring off turnovers, that was everything in this one.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to add some structure to this because I feel like we're both all over the place. Let's talk about that. So Antoine Winfield gets a lot of credit for that fumble. I think he deserves it. We also got to criticize Jared Cook, though. I mean, you just can't fumble in that situation. Like, that's absolutely all the momentum is New Orleans' way. They were up 7, I believe, at that point, looking like they could get at least 3 more, and that allowed Tampa Bay to tie the game. And that was just a huge play in that one.
Yeah, no, you got to hang on to the ball there. Either go down. There's no point of even fighting for more yards. You got the play you wanted. Just go down at that point. Yeah, it was a tough situation for him. He's got to be able to make that play. That's a veteran mistake that you just can't have there. And the Bucks capitalized. They made a great play on the ball and were able to recover. And that's pretty much what they did all game, was being able to just make plays on the ball. And I guess, you credit the defense too, but I just felt like there was, outside of the touchdown pass from Jameis, like there just seemed to be a lack of creativity in the Saints offense today, right?
Well, it was weird. It was because, I said, okay, there's going to be a lot more man coverage in this. It seems like Sean Payton was almost under the impression that maybe Todd Bowles wouldn't do that as much. I was shocked by the lack of rubber routes, of man beaters. It seemed like this was still a team designed to beat zone, and they wanted to run Kamara a lot to get Tampa Bay into zone. They were a little bit successful in that, but at the end of the day, Tampa Bay clearly just said, if you want to get 5 yards per carry with Kamara, go ahead. We'll live with that. We're not going to live with you beating us 30 yards down the field.
Yeah, and at the same time, you look at it, because I had some buddies, text me about the play calling too. But at the same time, like, what's Peyton supposed to do at this point with Drew Brees? And just like, I mean, wasn't the writing on the wall that this game was bound to happen for him? His yards per attempt, his yards per completion, his air yards, all that stuff had been going down for years. And I hate to, drag on the guy in his last game of his career, but he threw one ball down the field and he threw it into double coverage for an interception. So, like, I don't know, like, what, at the same time, like, I don't love some of it, but like, what's Peyton supposed to do in this situation?
Yeah, we probably should talk about Breeze. I mean, Breeze was not good. And one of the things that made man coverage so much easier is you saw these corners, they were okay with getting beat deep. When guys were running go routes, they would just follow. Like, they don't need to worry about getting burned deep, because they had one safety deep a lot, because Breeze isn't going to burn them over the top. And they knew that. And for Breeze, I've kind of defended him a lot, when we've been doing this podcast, because I kind of feel like, yeah, it hasn't been perfect for him. His arm strength is deteriorated, but one of the things he can really do is just manage the game. You can't turn the ball over, and the third time was really a desperation pick. I don't hold that against him, but and you could argue the second one was sort of a miscommunication, but Alvin Kamara is not, that's still on Drew Brees. Like, a miscommunication isn't completely on Kamara. It's on both of them. And the first one was just a horrible decision. Like, if you're going to be a game manager, you can't be making those dumb decisions. And this was not a good game from Brees. It just wasn't.
Yeah, and even on that miscommunication, it looked like White still had a pretty good beat on the ball, that he's breaking it up anyway, maybe even still getting the pick. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that I don't know. It was just difficult. The touchdown pass he had to Traquan Smith is like exactly what was the best part of Drew Brees. It wasn't throwing the ball downfield. It wasn't being overly aggressive, but it's just pinpoint accuracy. And we just didn't see that enough tonight, I felt like. And, like we said, those corners for Tampa, they've gotten a lot of flack this season. They came to play in this one. They did a really good job. And you also have to credit some of the pass rush. Had a lot of forced incompletions too, for getting after Brees kind of up the middle too. But yeah, you just got to give corners the credit for that one. And it sucks that that's how it ends for Brees, but he didn't help himself in this one.
Yeah, well, it should be mentioned, we don't know if that's how it ends for Brees. It's probably, we're assuming, but as a Buccaneers fan, I hope it isn't. I hope that Brees plays another year, because they'd be screwed cap-wise if Brees doesn't retire. But I think that also, I want to go back to that touchdown. You said Traquan Smith. I think that was kind of the one big play that the Saints had, passing the ball, not counting the Jameis Winston trick play thing. But I think that you notice that play, Carlton Davis got hurt right before it. And so they had to put in they had to sort of shift everyone over. Ross Cockrell ended up being the guy who's not someone who's a great corner. He didn't get his head turned around. I kind of believe that if that's Jamel Dean or Sean Murphy Bunting, they're able to get because there wasn't a ton of separation. They probably get their head turned around, and they probably deflect that pass too.
Yeah, I mean, there's potential for that because, yeah, I mean, you said that perfectly on. He didn't turn his head around. But you give the Saints credit too, because they saw the matchup, they saw the corner go out with the injury, and they took advantage of it. And that's something that I just feel confused about Tampa Bay all game long is, the Saints were essentially playing, it seemed to me like a little bit of man underneath and then two safeties deep, or at least a safety deep. And it just seemed like they weren't hunting for matchups in this one. And I didn't understand why. Like, I get that, you have all this talent. You just hope the talent wins out and you make the right play. But, early in this game, I'm like, okay, you look at you look at the matchups of who's going up against who. Why aren't you just finding ways for Chris Godwin to go up against C.J. Gardner-Johnson and just taking advantage of that play? I know Gardner-Johnson's a pretty good slot corner, but he's not Chris Godwin good. I just felt like that they could have taken advantage of that more, and I was very confused on the offense in the first half from the Bucs. I mean, it didn't matter in the end because they got the win and made plays, but it was just very confusing early on.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I mean, Brady 199 yards on 33 attempts. That's not good. Obviously, what Tampa Bay did well was they didn't turn the ball over, which was a big factor. And I think that's fair. Also, Chris Godwin's got to remember how to catch the football. I don't know what's going on with this. I mean, all of a sudden, one of the most sure-handed receivers in the league, in the playoffs, you got the yips or something. It's an issue. And for the Saints, I mean, they hold Chris Godwin to 34 yards. They hold Mike Evans to 3 yards. Chris Godwin ended up being the leading receiver for wide receivers. Cameron Brate and Leonard Fournette had more receiving yards. And Scotty Miller, 1 catch. He had 29 yards. He was right there with Chris Godwin. So it was a weird game, and I really do think that Tampa Bay struggled with what the Saints defense does so well is they can stop the run with 2 safeties deep. And that was a real struggle for Tampa Bay because they want to try to, okay, let's run these crossing routes, get things inside. But the Saints defense is good at that. And, like you said, Gardner-Johnson, a good slot corner. They have these guys who are good at that kind of thing. They're a really good defense. And obviously we all know Marshawn Lattimore is the perfect, size-wise, he can match up with Evans in a great way. Yeah, but, for the Bucs, I agree. I think there is some frustrating play calling. Running every first down does drive me crazy. But they did enough. They did do just enough in this one. And like I said, not turning the ball over in this game was huge.
Yeah, I mean, this might be kind of like the albatross off the back sort of thing. This is a team Arians hasn't beat in Tampa Bay. This is the team that throttled them twice this season. Maybe this is a game that's like, let's just get out of here alive and then get to the next one and focus on that one. And the offense might figure itself out again at that point. Because, yeah, I mean, it's difficult to play on this defense. It's a very good defense, and they made plays. Marshawn Lattimore was really good again against Mike Evans. I still don't get it, but it was really good. And
got that touchdown, though.
Yeah, he got the touchdown. Another, I just feel like that's kind of his game against New Orleans is 3 yards in. But hey, they made the plays when they had to, like I said. And that catch from Tyler Johnson was just insane. That should be That was a huge play too. Getting that catch, I thought was everything.
Well, it was crazy because New Orleans is shutting down. Antonio Brown seemed like he was, he got hurt in this game, so that was obviously a factor. You have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin who are not being able to get much going. And then it was that same drive on third down and 11, Tyler Johnson, who, that's a name I said in my video, that's a name that many Tampa Bay fans know, but that's from hockey, not from football. He gets this crazy catch. And then right after, Scotty Miller is able to get this great. Also, looking up the stat sheet now, he's currently listed on Google as Scott Miller. That has changed. He's Scotty Miller.
He's earned Scotty.
Yeah, exactly. I also like, Luke Brown brings this up. The deep shots on 3rd and 1. What are they doing? Yeah, that was just driving me nuts watching the game, these deep shots. And especially there was one that could have been a pick. The Bucs defense didn't play great, but a lot of it too was the Saints defense is really good, and they're a great matchup for the Bucs offense, and they were able to play really well in this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. And even though you mentioned it, the runs on first down were frustrating. I still thought it was a pretty good game for Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, especially at the end of the game. You can discredit the running on first down, which I think both of us do, and I think it needs to be more of a balance. Because just a lot of stats point to throwing on first down gives your quarterback so many more advantages, especially against the pass rush like the Saints pass rush. But you just saw it in the second half how this wore down the defense. You just saw how all of a sudden, those plays that were going for 2 yards, Ronald Jones was getting 12 yards on, and he almost broke a big one besides the holding call there. And, I just think that all of those things, just committing to that running game ended up paying dividends for them in this one late in the game, being able to get first down after first down running the football.
Yeah, this was a wild game. I feel like this was what we like when we heard Breeze Brady 2 times a year. Well, this game it finally happened, even though it wasn't really them that were great. It was just the game itself that was great.
Yeah. No, it was a classic game, and now we get Brady's Rodgers, so that's going to be really fun to see.
Yeah, should be good. All right, let's move on now. Let's go in reverse chronological order. Let's do that. So let's go with the other game from today. The Kansas City Chiefs, Chad Henne, baby. It helps the Chiefs. What were your thoughts on this one?
Wow. I mean, this was just about, oh man, Browns almost did it, man. They really did. And it was just frustrating to see some of the things. And, Mahomes was able to make plays in this one, and it seemed like they were just going to torch him. It seemed like the Chiefs at one point were going to go for 50, but they weren't able to finish off a couple drives, and the Browns just kind of hung around. And then when Mahomes went out, the door really opened. And, we gave Stefanski a lot of credit for this offense, but I just think there is something to, if you're facing a 3rd and 8, you got to be able to throw the ball 10 yards sometimes. And we saw that on the Cleveland's last drive. They didn't get the ball back with like 4.5 minutes left. And it was like a run play. Then it was Baker to the running back. And then 3rd and long, it was Baker to the running back again. And it's just like, you got to find a way to force the ball downfield there and make a play. And they weren't able to. And that was kind of the game.
Yeah, I think that's it. I kind of felt like weirdly, this game almost do you feel like in a weird way, this game was kind of feels like the shot to take out the Chiefs? Because I do feel like the Chiefs are still the favorites to win it all. And Mahomes hurt. They had the opportunity, and Cleveland wasn't able to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just because he got hurt, really. And, like you said, if they got one more stop, if they can hold a 3rd and 14 Chad Henne scramble,
yeah,
then maybe, they're playing in the AFC Championship game. This was it. Just, I don't know. It's a tough vibe to understand this Cleveland team. It's just like they couldn't stop anything through the air, and they don't deserve to win this one. They didn't deserve to win it, even though they had a shot. Some tough breaks against them, but at the same time, Kansas City was just a better team for a lot of the game, and then it's inexcusable to give up that play to Chad Henne. It's just inexcusable to be able to give that up.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about, so people keep talking about Mahomes. Yeah, well, people don't keep talking about it. In this game, it was talked about Mahomes' ability to scramble and pick up yards that way, and pick up a first down with a 3rd down and long. And part of that is Mahomes, but a big part of that too is just the wide receivers and how to go deep so often that it kind of can clear things out so that you can pick up that first down on 3rd and long. And Cleveland probably, one of the few times they actually have good coverage. Now you have to worry about Chad Henne running the football. You just can't prepare for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you're probably right on that. Plus, there's so many guys to cover on this team that it's not like you can dedicate a linebacker to watching the quarterback just because it's so tough. And, yeah, I mean, Henne was able to bounce back. That was 2 big play calls, being able to get that 4th down and 1, and then not only snapping the ball for a 4th down play to go for it, but snapping the ball before it hit 1 second, caught Cleveland by a complete surprise and gave, Tyreek Hill an easy first down completion. Bouncing back all that after probably one of the worst throws I've ever seen in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand what that was. It was 2 deep safeties on that, and he just lofts it up in the end zone. It's like he was playing for a touchback. I didn't understand what that throw was, but he bounced back from it and made the plays.
Yeah, well, it's good. I thought Chad Henne was really good, except for that one just like awful throw that completely like makes you feel way worse about it. But I mean, he was 6 for 8, so 1 incompletion, 1 interception. He definitely got the job done, and this Chiefs team just found a way to win. I also thought that for Baker Mayfield, he was good again. He did have that 1 interception that I feel like it was more of a good play from Tyrann Mathieu than a bad interception. But that totally should have been the dagger, and then Kansas City just completely failed to capitalize on it.
Yeah, and it was kind of I thought it was a half second late on him. But at the same time, Matthew's a standout safety for a reason. He makes a great beat on that play too. They had the chance at the end of the first half to go down and score. we don't need to get into the touchback rule. We've talked about this on this podcast before. The helmet to helmet was really tough. That's a tough break.
We should talk about that. Yeah. I don't think we can talk about enough about how much I hate that touchback rule, just in the sense that it's so it drives me crazy that if you fumble at the 1 yard line, you keep the ball and you have it at the 1 yard line. Like, make it fumble everywhere or no fumble at all. I think it can't be talked about enough how dumb that rule is.
Well, yeah, everyone agrees with that. But
not everyone. There's a subset of people who love to be the contrarian on Twitter. I've noticed that there's a lot of people, contrarian opinion, but I actually like this rule.
Well, that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. But it was just the combination of the touchback rule hurting you with the combination of an obvious personal foul penalty also causing the touchback rule to hurt you. Because the thing is Sorensen had no hands up on the play. He had no arms up. It was like a straight up like swimming dive into his head. And
so here's my thing about that. I thought that, so it was really, I think there was only one ref there because it wasn't like a goal line situation, and it was hard it looked like, because Sorensen first looked like he was going to lead with his shoulder, which would be a legal play, and then he ends up leading with his head. And I think that's just a hard, like, people are blaming the refs. To me, it's hard for the refs to make that call. That's a clear example of why we need like a sky judge, someone who's watching the game and can just buzz in and say, hey, that's a penalty or that's not a penalty in real time, not a replay, but just like someone watching like a different angle, because that's just a hard penalty for the refs to make.
Yeah, no, it is, especially because he's also looking at the ball at the pylon there. So that's also
exactly tough. He has to watch. That's I said this in my video. He has to watch if he steps out of bounds, if the ball gets past the pylon, and if there's a penalty on top of it. Like, we're putting these guys in really difficult positions.
Yeah, we just need 220 refs to one every yard mark.
Yeah, there we go. That's another interesting strategy.
Yeah, that's a foolproof plan. No, I'm just, it was a tough break though. And the Browns will feel a little upset about it, but they also had opportunities to win this game. They had an opportunity with 4 minutes left to go down the field and score. And like I said, they couldn't get the ball downfield. They couldn't get a big third down play, and they couldn't throw the ball 10 yards downfield on third down. So that also hurt. And they let a backup quarterback get a 15-yard run to essentially win the game. You can't let that stuff happen if you're going to play in the AFC Championship game. And you got to take advantage of the little things.
Well, and also going back to Rashad Higgins, I get that it was an illegal hit. You still can't reach out like that. Like, you got to just tuck it in and try and get the first down that way. You shouldn't reach out at the goal line like that. Because it was an illegal hit. But if Sorensen leads with the shoulder, that still might have been a fumble for getting out of bounds. And also, football being a cruel sport, the way the ball it landed in the end zone, but it lands in a way where it rolls out of bounds. If it just landed slightly over, it stays in bounds. And David Njoku was right there. He would have gotten the touchdown. So football's a cruel sport.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I also, about the Chiefs offense too, real quick on this one, I think we can kind of wrap up this game a little bit. They were awesome. I thought they ran the ball really well, which was surprising with Darrell Williams, because they had kind of abandoned it basically the entire second half of the season. They get back to it and do a really good job. And, you can say the Browns secondary is still bad, which it is, but at the same time, it's also really hard to guard Tyreek Hill. Like, it's almost like you have to be there when he catches the ball, or else he's getting another 5 yards every time. He's just so elusive. It's unreal. And he was just dynamite in this game.
Well, and it's also unfair that Tyreek Hill can make contested catches. Even when you have good coverage, he can still find a way to make the grab. Like, that's not fair. He shouldn't be able to make 50-50 balls. If you're going to be the speed guy, you should only be able to make catches when you're wide open.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he was just dominant in this one. And him and Kelsey, each of them 8 catches, 109 yards and 110 yards. Unreal game from those two. And I felt like Hardman had like 4 more catches than he actually had listed. And just a really dominant game, I thought, from the Chiefs offense until Mahomes got hurt.
Yeah, so let me write that down. You say the Chiefs offense is good.
Yes, hot take.
Okay, offense, good. All right, we got it written down. We're ready to go. Okay, any final thoughts on this one?
No, I think we just about covered this one. Looking forward to the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship game, though. I feel like we got the best 4 quarterbacks from this season, besides Deshaun, who sadly didn't make the playoffs. But outside of that, I feel like we got the best 4 quarterbacks this year.
All right. Well, yes, and we will have more about that Wednesday at 9. We'll be going on. We'll be previewing the two games. The only 3 games left in the season, Kyle. It's terrible.
I know, sad news.
All right. Well, let's talk about Bills Ravens. Speaking of sad news, as a member of the Lamar Jackson fan club, this was a rough night.
Yeah, so both of our Super Bowl pick is out with this game. We both picked the Ravens in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
First time
I
I've been
mean,
wrong.
what's that?
I was 2-0, now 2-3, or
Yeah,
2-1. I mean,
2-1. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
which direction do you want to go in this? How do we want to talk about this? I mean, this
Let's
is just
start with Buffalo.
start with Buffalo. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought Buffalo rebounded really well in the second half and started putting things together. I am amazed that this team can honestly stop like running the ball completely and still have a working offense in like what was apparently the worst wind of all time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and they essentially were still able to throw the ball and do a really good job. I think Josh Allen was awesome in this game, and especially in the second half. His
Really?
numbers don't show it, but I just thought he was really good in this one overall and making throws and just the back foot throws every time. They were just perfect almost at times. He figured out a lot of things to be able to make plays.
I mean, I don't know how much the wind affected him, but he was missing a lot of throws early on. Like, I didn't think this was. I thought this was one of Josh Allen, maybe one of his worst games of the season.
The second half, I thought he did a lot better in the second half, figuring it out
I
and
mean,
hitting some of those.
he had that one drive, but I also thought that was a lot of exit. I wasn't that impressed with Josh Allen in this game. I mean, I thought it was a. I don't know how much the wind was a factor. So, like, maybe if the wind was all of it, then he was great. But if the wind was, I mean, he missed a good amount of throws early on, and it seemed like the second half, what they were able to do was just get some semblance of a running game going, and get sort of these underneath. I thought Brian Dabble, got good X's and O's there, but I didn't think this is like I don't think Josh Allen's like a top. I'm not sure if he's a top 5 reason the Bills won this game.
Well, not overall, I don't think. I just thought he did a good job of recovering the second half. And the big thing is when we talk about Allen is he didn't really make a whole lot of mistakes. And that can't necessarily be said for the other guys. So,
yeah, no, well, that's true. I mean, neither quarterback was particularly great. And by the way, Bills fans are going to come at me. I think this Bills team's really good. I think that Josh Allen's really good. I think this is probably conditions more than anything. So it's not like I think Josh Allen's bad. I just think this wasn't his best game. This also wasn't Lamar Jackson's best game. I think it's a bit overblown. I didn't think either quarterback was awful either. I just think that neither quarterback played up to their potential on this one. But the difference is, like you said, Allen didn't turn the ball over. Lamar Jackson threw an 100-yard pick six, and that's really kind of the key difference between these two guys.
yeah, I mean, so the Ravens had 5 drives in this game inside the Bills' 30-yard line. And in those 5 drives, they ended up with a net not minus 4 points.
Right.
Like, that's just not. I mean, they didn't play winning football in 2 phases of the game. It's as simple as that. They didn't play winning football on offense. They didn't play winning football on special teams. They played winning football on defense. That's for sure. They did a really good job in this one, but they just didn't play winning football in those aspects. I thought the center was just God. This is one of the worst center performances I think I've ever seen in a major football game. This was just, I thought Lamar for 2.5 quarters couldn't figure out his own defense, and it was tough to watch at points. And even then, when it looked like he was going to finally start figuring out the zone, and he was going down the field. He had the big 3rd and 13 run on that drive that he ended up throwing the interception on, and you're like, okay, he's got this. He's hitting Snead a couple times underneath, picking apart the zone. And then he stares down Andrews in the end zone, and it was just an easy play for Johnson to make and take that back for the touchdown. I just thought it was a really bad game for him, and he didn't get a lot of help around him. But at the same time, we gave him a lot of credit for how good even with how good this team is around him. When the team around him fails, if you're a great quarterback, you got to find a way to make plays, and he didn't.
I'm surprised to hear this by you because I don't know. Maybe we'll watch a different game. I don't know, because the idea that Josh Allen played a great game and Lamar Jackson played an awful game is just that doesn't seem right to me at all. I felt like Lamar Jackson was the only thing that had life on this offense. There was pressure immediately. His receivers couldn't make catches. There was a million drop passes, and when he's trying to run the ball, which is a big part of his game, part of what makes Lamar Jackson so great is you get him that open space, and then he can do so much of it. They couldn't get him any open space. I thought that the Bills defense did a great job shutting it down. I don't know what more you want Lamar to do in this game, other than not throw to pick six. Obviously, that he should be killed for that. But in terms of the rest of the game,
but that's a major play. That is not. It's not just a major play. That is an inexcusable throw. There's three guys there, and he's staring down one target into the end zone.
There isn't three guys there. Teron Johnson made a great read on the play.
Milano's standing right there too.
What?
Milano was standing right there on the play. I believe, was it Milano? It was a linebacker too. That was right there.
There was a linebacker. If Johnson doesn't cut in, it's a touchdown. It's an inexcusable play. He should have seen Johnson. I'm not defending the play, but it also, like, I don't know. The play itself was terrible. I'm not defending the play. He didn't have a great game, but he didn't have an awful game. I feel like trying to blame this on Lamar Jackson just seems silly to me. Like, what other quarterback in this position wins this football game? Does Mahomes win this game? Maybe. Who else?
Probably Deshaun. But anyway, so I mean,
I don't know if he does. I love Deshaun. I don't know if he does.
Okay, so I'm probably overblowing that it's all his fault. I'm not blaming it all on him because he didn't get a lot of help. Like I said, the center was completely awful in this game. I thought the defensive line completely dominated the Ravens' offensive line, which is something we haven't seen a lot in the last 2 years, is this offensive line get completely outplayed like it did in this one. But at the same time, it's just like I still saw a lot of throws that were wild. I saw some throws that were bad reads. I saw some plays that he didn't make the right read at all. And I just thought that those, if you're going to win 4 playoff games, that's kind of what you have to make and the plays you have to make in this one. But I mean, overall, it was, as I said, the Ravens didn't play winning football. 2 missed kicks from a guy who's basically automatic, a running into the kicker at the worst time of the game. Now, who knows if Tyler Huntley is going down and scoring anyways.
I think that was fine. Wasn't it over at that point?
Well, that sealed it, but Huntley could have technically gone down and scored. So, I mean, it was unlikely, but still, that's just not Ravens football.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think the idea of Huntley getting a touchdown, they getting an onside kick, and then Huntley scoring another touchdown I think it was over at that point anyways. But, BSAP says Greg Roman needs to go. I do think that the play calling was driving me crazy. Again, I like the Ravens. As I said, I'm the member of the Lamar Jackson fan club. My first video that got over 1,000 views was one talking about how Lamar Jackson can work in the NFL. I just feel like there were so many play calls where just run zone busters. It's, zone is coming, and I don't understand why there's everything to the outside. Run stuff over the middle. You can be successful running routes over the middle. You don't have to. Why are you forcing Lamar Jackson to these difficult throws? You know what he's capable of and what he isn't. Help your guy out. And that's why I get a little frustrated with this Lamar Jackson can't get it done in the playoffs narrative when there's so much going wrong, and he didn't have a great game. He deserves the criticism, but he doesn't deserve as much criticism as I think he's getting.
That's probably fair. I mean, that's probably fair. But I mean, we're still kind of waiting to see it. They didn't look good in this game. And, another guy, I thought one of the reasons I picked the Ravens in this game was because I mentioned the Bills play against tight ends. Mark Andrews had 11 targets for 4 catches. He was not good in this one. And I thought he could have had a really big day, and he didn't help him out either. So that was probably the biggest target that I thought that could have a big game, and he wasn't able to do it too.
Yes. Also, we have a super chat. We appreciate that, Preston, very much. Yeah. No, I mean, it's fair. It's absolutely fair to there's no doubt about it. This was not a great Ravens game, but I also like their defense played like this was if the Ravens score a touchdown late in that third quarter instead of that pick 6, it's a completely different football game.
It was, and that was the drive. It looked like Lamar was starting to figure stuff out, and then it's one costly mistake, and then on the next drive he's unfortunately hurt. Because I mean I've never seen this offensive line in the Ravens in this Lamar era play this badly. I mean honestly, I don't think I've ever seen them play this badly, and I can't criticize how bad that center was in this one. Just constantly all over the place with the snaps.
Yeah, I mean and it wasn't just one center; it was multiple centers. Let's see, we have Josh Huffman in the chat. For people new to the Ravens or outside perspective, not knowing the ins and outs, let me assure you, we do this rerun of Fire to OC under Harbaugh every year. Harbaugh is the ceiling/issue. How do you feel about that? Is Harbaugh the issue, or is this just, or is that not?
I mean, if Harbaugh's the ceiling, I guess the ceiling's a Super Bowl because he's won one.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily on Harbaugh. I mean, the Greg Roman thing's really weird, right? We were all talking about, is this the best offensive coordinator in football? Literally like
Right.
12 months ago.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
mean, so I mean, maybe it's a chance because this, we had the comments from Lamar in the middle of the season that people would know their plays before they're even running them. Maybe this got too predictable and it's gotten too stale. But I mean, I think the easy fix is probably to change the offensive coordinator because it's a lot easier to do that than change your quarterback or anything, and they're
Yeah.
not going to change a guy who just won MVP. So maybe they change up the offensive coordinator. I don't think this is on Harbaugh.
Yeah. And, I mean, again, I do feel like there's way like you can't do the whole well Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals because Tyler Bass also missed 2 field goals, so that's the same. But there was like the Tyler Huntley had a wide open. I can't remember if it was Willie Snead or Marquise Brown, but he had a wide open receiver overthrew that. You have to think if Lamar Jackson's there, he makes that throw. Although who knows if that situation develops if Lamar's there. This was not. I don't know. Despite the fact that the Ravens scored 3 points, this was not a blowout. This was a convincing win from Buffalo, and Buffalo's really good. And in a game where they
Yeah.
couldn't really throw the ball because of the conditions, they were still able to find a way to win.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything right there. And it was the one play really flipped this entire game, and that was pretty much it. And it would have been nice to see Lamar get a chance to finish that game and bounce back from that interception. The injury was unfortunate, but I did feel like Buffalo was the better team. And you can say that, as you mentioned with the, oh, well, Bass missed 2 field goals too, but this is exactly what the Ravens do. They give
All
themselves
right.
every tactical advantage they can because they have a weapon like Justin Tucker who doesn't miss field goals. They don't make special teams mistakes. They have an awesome defense. They give themselves every tactical advantage. And honestly, if you look at the game and the weather and all that, this everything was catered to Baltimore winning this game. I do think the win had a genuine effect on the deep passing game for Buffalo, especially when he missed that first one early in the game. And I thought that, Baltimore should have been able to run the ball and control this game, especially when Buffalo wasn't able to take the big shots. I think that was everything in this one, and Baltimore wasn't able to take advantage.
Yeah. Cool. So the super chat says running quarterbacks have trouble in the pocket, which is a problem in the playoffs. There is something to that. I mean, when you play a good defense, it's going to be more difficult to get those plays where Lamar can get in open space and get a ton of yards. So there absolutely is something to that. What do you do for the Ravens from here? What would you, if you wake up tomorrow and you're in an alternate universe where you're the Ravens general manager, what do you do this offseason?
Um, I draft Rashad Bateman and call every free agent wide receiver I can who wants to be a number one guy and
Uh-huh.
basically run it back and say, let's do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I still think this team still has a top level defense that, we talked about this Bill offense all year. The Ravens defense did a terrific job against them. We talked, hopefully, Staley gets healthy to play and this offensive line bounces back like they should. I think that they just need to go get a guy who can go make a 3rd and 10 play. They need to go get a free agent wide receiver, probably draft a wide receiver too, like Rashad Bateman towards the end of the draft. Get some guys that can be some playmakers on this team and create some separation. Because while I thought Marquise Brown had a pretty good playoff, he's still not a number one guy in my book, and I don't think he's going to be a number one guy. They need to get someone to complement him and be able to be a possession guy.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the team you just lost to, the Buffalo Bills. Diggs, who had a very quiet 100-yard night. It didn't feel like he did too much, and then all of a sudden you look up and he's passed over 100 yards. He's the kind of that's what they need. They need Allen Robinson, Kenny Golladay, or trade for someone. The Bills aren't regretting that trade. I think figure out a way to get a number one guy, and you should be okay.
Yeah, I mean, even with it, we said, we both picked this team to win the Super Bowl. We both really like this team heading into the playoffs the way they were playing. As frustrating as this game was and as tough as it was to watch Lamar, make some mistakes in this one or make a really bad throw that almost cost them the game, basically. But they, this team still isn't far off. I'm betting on this team to be good for the next 5 years with this roster.
Yeah, I think that don't panic. You should be okay. And they had injuries this year too, so you don't need to fix those things. But definitely a tough loss. Let's talk a little bit more about Buffalo, I guess. I mean, Buffalo Bills, AFC Championship game. How many years in a row? Well, not how many years in a row, but how many years in the past 20 years have a AFC East team played in the AFC Championship game? So many.
Yeah, it is a lot. Yeah, this team's been really good all year. This was the matchup we wanted for the AFC Championship game, and we're going to see it. And hopefully, Mahomes is healthy to get the matchup we deserve. And I think Allen's going to bounce back. I thought this defense is special, and it gave him some trouble in the first half, like I mentioned. And I think this is going to be just a really fun game to see, and it's going to come down to these two, I think.
Wait, so let me get this straight. Allen was awesome, but also he's going to bounce back.
Well, I thought he was awesome in the second half, like I said. I thought he struggled in the first half a lot. Awesome. I said awesome in the second half.
No,
I thought he struggled a lot in the first half, and I think he'll bounce back. So I think he'll bounce back from that first half performance and continue in Kansas City.
Okay. I think he will too. But I said he wasn't great in this one, unlike somebody. Let's move on. Let's talk about Rams Packers. So I do feel like this was the kind of game where it wasn't as I feel like this score maybe feels a little bit further away than it actually was, but the Packers were clearly the better team. And really what was so impressive with Green Bay is I kind of said I can't see the Packers just having an easy time against the Rams defense. They had an easy time against this Rams defense. I mean, they were scoring early on. And that was just a tough thing the Rams could never come back from. This Green Bay Packers offense is really good. In terms of points per drive, they're the second best offense ever, only behind the Chiefs of a few years back when they lost in the AFC Championship game. Obviously, it's weighted because, offense is easier to come by now. But they were able to have no problem with this Rams defense. This is a really good football team.
Not only is it a really good football team, it looks like a team that's going to win the Super Bowl. And at this point, that's kind of what I'm expecting out of this team because it is that talented. I thought they did everything they wanted. I know Los Angeles was missing its two most important players. Donald was barely a factor, and Cooper Kupp is I think is the most important player on this offense with what he can do in making plays. But you take advantage and play who's in front of you. I thought what I really liked was it wasn't just Adams in this one. Tunyon was awesome in this one. Lazard was awesome in this one. I thought Valdez-Scantling made a nice play. Aaron Jones was incredible in this one, I thought, making play after play. And yeah, like you said, this Packers offense, they stagnated a little bit late in the game, but they made the plays they had to, and they kind of jumped out on them in the first half and, took advantage of this number one defense.
Yeah, I mean, you can say Aaron Donald wasn't a factor. He played 40 snaps. His season high was 63. So it was definitely lower than we typically expect from Donald. But a lot of that was just, again, this Packers offensive line. You can't get pressure on him, even if you're the best player in football.
Yeah, this offensive line's fantastic. They did it again, even without Bakhtiari. Still, they continue to do really well. One of the things, too, I think it is talked about a lot, but I don't think it's something we've talked about a whole lot. And I was listening to Chris Long actually describe this perfectly. And it's just so annoying playing Aaron Rodgers, he was saying, because you're just a half second late on everything. Because he controls the line of scrimmage better than any quarterback in the league with his snap count and his hard count, that every defensive lineman, he said, is off basically a half second on their plays. And I just feel like that makes a huge difference in this one. And the offensive line was really good. And I think, we've talked about a few different offenses. I think this team sets up play action probably better than any offense in the league. It's just incredible what they can do to set up play action. That Lazard play, the 3-play increment that led to that Lazard touchdown was just perfect from LaFleur. And it was a really good game. I was really impressed with this team coming out of this.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, they were so patient this game, where usually I don't love the methodical offenses because I feel like you want to get explosives. You want to be able to get the ball down the field and, in a quicker way because things happen, holding penalties happen, incomplete passes happen. But they were able to still move the ball while being methodical. And then the Lazard play happened, which was just the dagger. And it helps. It's easy to set up play action when Aaron Jones can go for 7.1 yards per attempt.
Yeah, no, it is. And, all season. So this is something LaFleur is definitely dedicated to. They've run play action. I think this was going into the playoffs. 28% of plays this season. Rodgers on it has a 72.4% completion percentage, 19 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So he's
Mhm.
borderline perfect out of play action. And it killed them on that play. That was the dagger pretty much. And it looked like the Rams might have a chance. And, honestly, I don't think Goff was really that bad in this game. He just wasn't Aaron Rodgers. And, not only did the Packers offensive line dominate it, I felt like the Packers defensive line dominated in this one in stretches. I thought Rashawn Gary was just awesome in this game and his ability to get in the backfield. And he had 1.5 sacks, and there was a couple other guys that had 1.5, 2 sacks. I thought this defensive line played really well and disrupted this Rams offense when they started getting momentum.
Yeah. You also have, how about Rashawn Gary? He's someone who was a bust last season, coming up big in a divisional round.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like high school Rashawn Gary in this one. He was a standout in high school. It looked like he wasn't going to figure it out at Michigan or last year, but he put it together in this one and made some big plays for the Packers. And just adding him to this defensive line of the Smiths and all that is almost unfair.
Yeah. Let's talk about one concern I would have if I'm a Packers fan. Their sort of zone coverage. There was a moment when LA was really easily able to just get these chunk plays and get things over the middle. And you have to imagine Tom Brady's going to be way better at that when they play, although the weather conditions might change things. But then again, we know Brady can play in the cold. Is that a concern heading into the AFC Championship game?
Uh, A little bit, yeah, I think so, definitely, because Brady just feasts on zone coverage as he has for essentially 20 years.
Mhm.
Um, they're going to have to adjust. I think. I think they're going to try and disguise some stuff, but at the same time, that's where Brady has made a living off of kind of figuring that stuff out and being able to get the ball out. It's just going to be kind of as cliche as it sounds with Tom Brady over and over. Can this pass rush get to him before he figures out this zone defense? Because I think he's going to be able to make big plays out of this passing game.
Yeah. So I think this is kind of an ultimate redemption story for Green Bay because last year, by the way, Matt LaFleur, back-to-back 13-3 seasons, getting to the NFC Championship game in his first 2 years as the head coach. Incredible. He deserves all the credit in the world. But I also think what's interesting is last year, they got blown out by San Francisco in the regular season, made it to the NFC Championship game, got blown out by them again. They got blown out by Tampa Bay in the regular season, playing them again. It's almost like, as a Buccaneers fan, part of it was like I wanted to go through the Saints to some degree. Obviously, I wanted to avoid them logically, but like my heart wanted to beat them because that way it's like if we now win the Super Bowl, we don't have to say like, well, if we played the Saints, we would have lost. I kind of think that's probably the same thing for the Packers, who they're a different team now than they were when they lost to Tampa Bay, and they have this ultimate redemption opportunity in front of them.
Yeah. No, I do feel like while there's some similarities to the narrative, I just feel like this is a completely different team than last year. I have a lot more faith in this Packers team this year than I did last year. And I don't feel, I think they were able to get pressure on Rodgers that first game, and that made a huge difference. I think the difference was San Francisco could kind of just beat up Green Bay last year, and I don't see Tampa Bay doing that sort of thing again. I think they have some physical guys on that defense, but I just don't think it's the same as that San Francisco defense from last season, their ability to just kind of punch you in the mouth and you don't really have an answer for it.
Yeah, it's definitely not a 1-for-1. I think that'll be a good game. I checked that Green Bay right now 4-point favorites. That feels about right. This feels like again, it could go their way. Who knows? Let's talk about the Rams. Let's eulogize the Rams for a second. What do you do? Do you do nothing? Do you make small? Some people think. Excuse me. Some people think that they should look for a new quarterback. Again, we'll do the body switching thing. You wake up, you're all of a sudden the general manager of the Rams. What do you do?
Well, I guess the first thing is hiring a defensive coordinator that's as good as Brandon Staley. That's going to be tough.
Right.
I think that's a good hire for the Chargers. We could talk about that another time in our offseason stuff. But outside of that, I think we just have it in our head almost now that it's really easy to just change quarterbacks. Like, they've invested in a lot of Jared Goff, and not only did they invest a lot in him, they have to find somebody to take his contract in order to get a good quarterback. Unless you're willing to draft a good quarterback in the first round and use that draft capital, I just don't see that being a realistic option. I think they're going to have to go with Goff in this one and hope for the best. And I still think this team's really good, though. I mean, like I said, if they can get Kupp healthy, if they can get Donald healthy, Like you said, he did play 40 snaps, but I felt like he was obviously hobbled in this one. If they can
Mhm.
get those two healthy and run it back, this team's still really good and has a lot of talent.
How about quarterback Johnny Hecker?
Johnny Hecker. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a foolproof plan. That's the best plan I've heard about the Rams. I mean, I think people clamoring to get like an elite quarterback, it's like, I don't think those exactly are just going to be traded for nothing. So I don't know. I think that they're going to have to run it back with Goff. I think right now they're with Goff until the end of this contract.
Yeah, let's see. Eli Mullen says, "I'm gonna try. I'd try and ship Goff for a Watson. Well, maybe if you can do that, then good. But yeah, as a whole, you probably have to do this. But listen, you're one of 8 teams. If things broke down differently, you could have been 1 of 4 teams. Like there's worse situations to be in. Just make the small moves, figure things out. Don't freak out. I do feel like more often than not in sports, when you're close but not good enough, it's better to make subtle moves instead of trying to make these giant moves."
I agree. I think that they need to add some pieces of this O line. Maybe get this O line a little younger. I thought it was a glaring hole on this team when Andrew Whitworth went out. So I think that's probably what the subtle moves will be, is adding to this offensive line.
Yes. All right. We have about 9 minutes before an hour. We always like to try to get over an hour. So anyone who has questions, get your questions in. I want to talk about one more thing about this game, but then we'll do some questions. So in the chat, write some questions. We'll answer them in a second. But one more thing I thought of was Aaron Rodgers has now been to 5 NFC Championship games, same amount as Peyton Manning. Tom Brady has like 14, but like it's incredible. Granted, Rodgers only has 1 Super Bowl, but he's gotten to this point, and there's no Mike McCarthy to slow him down in this one.
Yeah, and I mean that point about Aaron Rodgers only has 1 Super Bowl. Manning basically has 1.5. So, I think it's been an incredible career. He's been awesome, and then not many franchises can get lucky enough to have back-to-back, not only generational quarterbacks, but back-to-back generational quarterbacks that are with your franchise for over a decade. And they've been able to do this, and Rodgers has continued to play really well. And there was a lot of talk about him being potentially washing up last year, and this was the big bounce back tour. They draft Jordan Love, and it maybe lights a fire under him, and he's been really good this year. And you have to give credit to these receivers who have been just, everyone's harping on these receivers. Lazard has been really good. That was really good last week, and I just thought that the receivers have been really good and also helped him out, and he's been an awesome this year, and he's going to win MVP. So,
yeah, we have Trayvon Holloway super chat. Best of luck from a Packers fan. Brady is awesome. Appreciate that. Aaron Rodgers is also awesome. So yeah, let's see the questions. It seems like a lot of questions are. This is a good one. Again, it's tough because I don't want to get too much into the preview show because we're going to talk about that in a bit. Luke Brown, what team do you think will be a surprise team next year? It's a bit tough because we don't know the offseason, we don't know the draft, but who do you think could maybe be a dark horse for a surprise team next year?
oh man, putting me on the spot here. I guess I'd have to think about this.
What about Denver again? We said him. We said him.
Yeah, we'll just keep saying Denver until
I
they're
said him
actually
every
good.
year. Every year,
Yeah.
I've been saying this.
I do feel like that's a team that is a trendy every year that they're going to be pretty good. I could see the Chargers in a little bit of a way being pretty frisky. I like the Staley hire. I think this defense will get healthy. I think that they got a good quarterback. I think that could be a pretty good team, and I think they made the playoffs this year, but nobody was really giving them credit. But Washington, I think, could be a really good team with a couple extra pieces that could be really dangerous next year. So Chargers and Washington.
What about New England? I think New England, we could see them get some weird quarterback and all of a sudden, play good defense, go 11-5.
I mean, I'm not discounting it. We had the best coach in football, so that goes a long way. I mean, that was probably good for 3 wins this year, and it could be good for another 3 wins next year. So having the best coach in the league, you add a quarterback, you have a ton of cap space. I think they could be good next year. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll go get Dak Prescott.
Yeah, best coach in football. Unbelievable. The disrespect to Matt Nagy.
Yeah, I know. Poor Matt. Yeah, the Bears are not my dark horse team, by the way.
Yes, probably a fair thing. I'm trying to figure out some more comments here. 1 second. trying to fill. Okay, we'll do Eli Mullen. Should the Pats draft a quarterback in the 6th round and hope they get lucky? Is that a good? Here's a better question. 199th pick. Should you just always draft the quarterback then and hope for the best? It didn't work out well for that Jets guy a couple years back. 199th pick. Just pick a quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have the 199th pick, just trade for it and draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
Every year.
I agree. Trying to see some more questions.
Anybody got playoff questions?
Yeah, let's try to do some maybe get questions about this game. That would be good. Well, in the meantime, who will be the best quarterback in 5 years? But yeah, in the meantime, ask us questions about just the games that you saw. What were something that maybe we missed that you want to hear us talk about? Who will be the best quarterback in 5 years? Mahomes?
Yeah. Mahomes.
Yeah.
I'm not picking Trevor Lawrence until I see him step foot on the football field. So Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it seems like Mahomes, maybe somehow Deshaun Watson, or maybe Tom Brady.
I mean, that's 10 years down the line.
Yes. Okay. Okay, here's a good one. Rodgers versus Brady. Who has the better stat line?
Ooh, this is interesting. That Bucs defense was pretty impressive this week, but I'm still going to go with the Packers. I think it's a different animal for this Bucs defense because they actually have to defend 20 yards and further down the field in this one. And I'm not going to bet on them to lock up Devontae Adams if Jalen Ramsey couldn't. So I'm going to go with Rodgers in this one. Doesn't mean I necessarily think they'll win the game. I just think Rodgers will have the better stat line. Looking at this guessing cold turkey without looking at the numbers.
Did Jalen Ramsey not lock up Devontae Adams?
I mean, I thought Adams still had a pretty good game.
Devontae Adams had 66 yards, and I think a good amount of that was not against Jalen Ramsey. I thought was great.
Well, I thought he was good. I just didn't think it was the same as I didn't think it was the same as a typical Ramsey performance. Is what I was more of trying to say. I guess I didn't say it very well. That touchdown wasn't his fault. Also, by the way, that was a bad communication from the defense over on the motion. So I thought he had a good game. I just didn't think it was a typical Ramsey performance this year.
I disagree. I thought it was great, but whatever. We'll move on. Eli Mullen, how did Jameis look in his first play? Awful, horrible, disaster.
I mean, it was a good throw. So I mean, he was wide open. So yeah. I mean, I don't know how I'm supposed to read that one. I might have been able to make that throw.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
0% chance I would have gotten that one through. New Master 69. What would be also again fantastic name? How did you manage to get that one? What would be the impact of Rodgers' legacy if he got crushed by Brady? I think nothing. I think that Rodgers' legacy is already what it is. I think he could improve upon it with beating Brady and winning a Super Bowl, but I don't think that it would change much if they lose like 35-3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so either. Obviously, there will be some questions, and I think some people will say it, but I don't think it'll be actual serious stuff. He still made the NFC Championship game twice in a row with 13-3 records, and will be MVP this year. So I'm not too worried about Aaron Rodgers' legacy.
Yes. Also, Trey A says Jackson's so effing biased. Yeah, I am. What is this ESPN? When I can't pretend like I'm a Bucs fan? Yeah, I want the Bucs to win.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
Okay, maybe they thought they were confused. They thought they were somewhere else. Lamar Jackson, a top 5 quarterback. I would probably say yes. I would still say yes. I said yes last week. I'm going to say yes this week.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if I had to think about it right now, Mahomes, Rodgers, Deshaun, Josh Allen, then he's probably there. I mean, you could probably put Brady there too, but I'm okay with either one of those two.
Yeah. All right. And then final question. Is this Breeze's last game? You kind of alluded to it earlier. Do you think, again, as a Buccaneers fan, no news I would love to hear more than Breeze staying, and he's still under contract for next season. So they would lose money if they would, Saints would gain cap if he stayed. But with how bad the cap is for New Orleans, they kind of need Breeze to retire right now.
Yeah, I mean, this year had kind of all the makings of they're going for it. This is, all or nothing for them, which is why this loss was so disappointing. I did see the Jay Glazer report that he had mentioned that he was retiring at the end of the year. So That's kind of what I was going off of. I think Glazer's a smart guy. Don't
Mhm.
know him personally, but he seems smart. Um, so, I mean, that's just what he said. That's kind of what I was going off of. I'm expecting him to kind of retire this year. It seems kind of dumb for him.
Yeah, seems like that's the case. All right, so that's it. Good questions. Thank you to everyone for hanging out with us. You know, little not quite as late as we typically go. Luck because starting an hour early that made things easier for us. Thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks for everyone for checking out the show after the fact. We appreciate it. I still have the banner for Rams Packers. All right. So Kyle, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at by Kyle Grondin. That's at by Kyle Grondin, Grondin. Or you can follow us at on the sideline JK. That's the official Twitter account of this podcast that you're listening to right now. That's at on the sideline JK. Make sure to follow us on there and be interested in us. We're funny.
Yeah, we're okay. It's not over. Secret to life, low expectations.
Hey man, sell yourself. Yeah,
All right.
be happy with yourself. We're great
Okay.
people.
Yes, we're okay. All right, let's move on. Let's end the show. Again, appreciate it to everyone. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.